Welcome to the Scarlet Report. In this video, we're going to analyze how Michael Carrick could approach his upcoming Premier League matchup against Mikel Arteta from a tactical standpoint. What are the strengths and weaknesses in Arsenal's tactical system? Without further ado, let's analyze. All right, so let's get started. I'm so excited to bring this video to you because there are so many things that I would like to talk to you about. And first, let's get started with Zubimendi, this man right here. One of the main reasons why we were able to beat Manchester City is because Mbeumo and Bruno Fernandes were able to take Rodri out of the game. And I believe that this season, at least, Zubimendi is kind of like levels ahead of Rodri. So we cannot really have a credible chance of beating Arsenal unless we can take him out of the game and prevent that central progression to which he is such an instrumental player. So here, this was against Liverpool. Florian Wirtz and Szoboszlai, they kind of like ganged up on Zubimendi. As you can see here, Arsenal building up with three defenders with Ikampia over there. But then Declan Rice dropping deep to form a back four. But you're going to see Declan Rice is not the only one who's dropping because Odegaard is also dropping. So this actually benefited Liverpool because effectively by taking Zubimendi out and not allowing him to receive balls, it kind of forced Declan Rice and Odegaard, two dangerous Arsenal players, they're 2'8", to drop deeper, therefore putting them in positions where they are further away from Alisson's goal and they cannot hurt Liverpool. So that's one key benefit. Now we're going to see how Szoboszlai was instrumental in preventing Zubimendi from getting involved in the play. So here, as you can see, again, marking Zubimendi, he's always looking over his shoulder, checking where Zubimendi is. Again, that back four build-up pattern by Arsenal. But look at Szoboszlai, this is just super intelligent. So as he goes for the press, it fails initially, but then he always checks over his shoulder to see where Zubimendi is in order to ensure that there is a Liverpool player who's going to take him so that they don't get blindsided. So here he knows that Gakpo is going to go towards Timber, so then he's going to drop back and to ensure that Zubimendi does not get the ball and Arsenal cannot create that vertical progression. Now, there's another benefit, to the opposition. And it is that the moment you take Zubimendi out of the game, as was the case here with Rodgers, he positioning himself between Gabriel and Zubimendi, it forces Arsenal to play a reckless game, to play these telegraphed passes that can easily be intercepted towards Gyökeres, who's not really a very good player, let's face it. And so Aston Villa were able to turn these turnovers into dangerous counters. But the alternative, if you let Zubimendi to, go rogue in the game and to just move freely, he can be extremely dangerous. Against Liverpool, for example, one moment he was able to blindside and run away from Wirtz and Szoboszlai like here. So he's moving, Saliba could find him in the wide areas. And then here he's able to form a triangle in these half spaces with Saka and Timber. And then Arsenal, as a result, are able to create that vertical progression and create dangerous chances. If they keep doing this enough and often and consistently in a game, they are going to score, okay? Now, this was an example of them scoring because this was literally the lead up to Arsenal's fourth goal against Aston Villa, with Zubimendi here showing Bruno Fernandes-like tendencies. So as you can see, the other two midfielders, Odegaard and Rice, are over there. So basically they are forming a midfield triangle. So Zubimendi here has kind of like tricked the Aston Villa players by moving into an 8th position with Declan Rice taking that 6th position. And again here, moving towards the wide area, into that wide left channel. But then the moment the Aston Villa player doesn't care about Zubimendi and kind of follows the ball instead of following the player, that actually gives Zubimendi space to hurt Aston Villa, because Odegaard, again, great touch towards Zubimendi, who is like in this empty area right here. And then the moment he gets the pressure from the opposition, again, he lets his technique shine. And then now he's got these acres of space to run at the ball. And then he was able to assist Gabriel Jesus, who was able to score. Now, the second tactical concept or principle that we need to talk about is one that I've talked about also in that video prior to the Manchester City game, which is that Arsenal and Manchester City are quite similar in the way they want to play. So Arsenal, just like Manchester City, they want to apply a lot of pressure and press with intensity. What I said in that video is that one of the best ways to counter teams that do this is by instructing your forwards and wingers to press really high, to push really high and wide. What this does effectively is that it pins down the opposition defenders, in this case Arsenal. Therefore, it divides their team into two clusters. A cluster of players who apply that intense pressure and who are pretty in quite forward and aggressive positions. And then a second cluster of those defenders who got pinned down. And then it's in these spaces, in between these two clusters, where you can be dangerous, because one of your forwards or wingers could actually drop into this space, receive the ball, and then you can run at the opposition and create that numerical superiority. But Arteta is aware of this. I respect Arteta as a tactician. I think he's quite, adaptable, and he's really a good problem solver and a troubleshooter, okay? So basically what he did is, it was like, okay, well, football, just like evolution in biology, is a matter of disruption and adaptation, okay? So if I press high, the opposition is gonna push their forwards high, pinning down my defenders. So what do? Do I just back off and not press? No, that's not his idea of how football should be played. What he does instead is that this space right here, he still instructs his center backs, especially Gabriel, who is extremely aggressive, to actually push up really aggressively with whoever drops into this space right here. And when it comes to this cluster right here, he just trusts his defenders to be good in 1v1 duels, okay? To just be good man markers who can take one player on their own. And so here I'm going to show you footage that just backs that up. So as we can see again, against Liverpool, as you can see, there is this cluster of Arsenal players who are pressing with intensity. But then you see Gabriel is actually moving forward, and he's kind of like plugging this space right here. And as you can see, Liverpool are doing exactly what Michael Carrick did against Manchester City, which is with Gakpo and Frimpong, pushing them like really high and wide, therefore forcing the Arsenal defenders to also stay high and wide, and mean that there is this space right here that can be exploited. As you can see, Florian Wirtz is moving there. I think that's Szoboszlai as well. But Gabriel is aware of that. This is why he's actually pushing in a forward stance, in an aggressive stance, in order to plug this space right here. And you see, he's actually ready to just pounce whenever the ball comes into these areas. And so that's actually one of Arteta's ways of dealing with that. And here, just if you had no idea, how aggressive Gabriel is, he's actually one of the best defenders in the league. But look at this, on Rodgers, he kind of sees him. Again, that cluster of Arsenal players who are applying intense pressure on Aston Villa. So then Gabriel, look at him. He goes on Rodgers, and look at the intensity. Look at this. He's hounding him down. And Arsenal could have won the ball there and had a shot on goal if it were not for Konsa's clearance. So that's actually one of the ways that Mikel Arteta deals with that issue. But again, going back to evolution in biology, I mean, with every disruption, there is an adaptation. So as Arteta adapted to that by instructing Gabriel to move and press with aggression into these areas right here in order to plug those spaces, it creates opportunities for the opposition, because what Liverpool have shown here is that if you are quite incisive with how you play, and with a combination of vertical play, diagonal play, and third man runs right here, the fact that Gabriel is really aggressive in his defensive tendencies mean that there are gaps that can easily be exploited, as was the case in this sequence right here. In fact, Liverpool have hit the crossbar in this sequence right here, with the likes of Frimpong and Gakpo being those players who play high and wide and who stretch the Arsenal defensive lines. Now, the other concept that we need to talk about is Arsenal's ability when it comes to exploiting the half spaces. So obviously I talked earlier when I was talking about Zubimendi, about how marking Zubimendi down can actually force Rice and Odegaard to move deeper. So of course I said that that was a good thing for the opposition. Here you have them, Odegaard right here and Rice right here, so they are further from the goalkeeper, right? But the way Arsenal handles this is that they have this like jigsaw puzzle type motion, a zigzag motion, is that as the left-sided central midfielder, Rice in this case, drops deeper, Hincapié goes forward into this half space right here. So does Jurriën Timber when Odegaard comes here. So they create these triangles in the half spaces with the likes of Saka and Trossard or Martinelli or whoever plays in the left wing, kind of like stretching the lines to the maximum in order to create these spaces. This can be extremely dangerous because the fullbacks don't really know whether they should attack and engage the wingers with the aggression. If they do that, they create a bigger space, a bigger gap between them and the center back on their side. If they don't, then these wingers, and especially Saka, is extremely skilled. It allows them to come deeper and to come closer to the penalty box, and they're able to create situations where they dribble at you. They can, provoke fouls, penalties, etc. So it can be extremely dangerous. So Arteta's play is based a lot on the right back and the left back, exploiting and creating numerical superiority in these half spaces, and that can be extremely dangerous. And here we're going to see some examples, especially with Timber, who I think is an extremely good player. So here again, as you can see, Declan Rice and Odegaard are deeper, but it's actually Timber who's going to be the target of Declan Rice's deep cross into space. So again, Timber going in, that could have been a goal for Arsenal against Liverpool. Here's another example. As Saka holds the play a little bit and these players are moving into these spaces, the real danger is actually Timber, who's gonna again move into that half space right there. So again, this was a great pass that just breaks the lines of Liverpool, and then Timber is able to put in a cross. Thankfully for Liverpool, it was not the best cross in the world. Here's another example. As Saliba gets the ball, you see like Timber, he's playing like an attacking midfielder pretty much. And Incampier also on the left, Calafiori sometimes, they always show those same tendencies. So here again, as you can see, Timber just attacking that space with Saka kind of like creating that width that enlarges this space between the left back and the left-sided centre back. And then again, that's a beautiful deep pass towards Timber that, again, could have been a goal. So Manchester United have to be wary of this, and they have to be extremely careful with how Arsenal are able to exploit and use those half spaces. Now, Arsenal, even though they are very good on the ball, I don't think that their build-up play is flawless, because here again, Liverpool have shown that there is actually quite an efficient and effective way of applying pressure on Arsenal and preventing them from building up, effectively. So here, as you can see, again, Arsenal building up with two centre-backs and two central midfielders right there with Zubimendi and Odegaard. But then here, Liverpool, even though they have less players in this area than Arsenal, they're able to use Wirtz and Szoboszlai effectively. So here what we have is, of course, Szoboszlai was on Zubimendi, but then as the ball moves towards Gabriel and Szoboszlai engages him, look at Wirtz. He's coming in deeper to still take Zubimendi out of the game. And then now this actually gives the signal to Frimpong, because while there was numerical superiority for Arsenal when the ball was there, now as you can see, they are 1-1-1. Okay, so there are 3 Liverpool players against 3 Arsenal players. So again, Frimpong, by being aggressive right here, he forces Gabriel to go long, and then Liverpool are able to collect the ball. And again, here we're going to see this sequence was absolutely amazing, again, with that teamwork and that industry and professionalism that Szoboszlai and Wirtz have shown when it came to performing their pressing duty, similar to Mbeumo and Bruno Fernandes. This is why I'm actually quite confident that Manchester United can actually use a similar approach against Arsenal. So here, as you can see, Szoboszlai is moving towards Raya. Raya is going to move towards Saliba because he knows that Gabriel is kind of like the obvious option, so he doesn't want to go for him. It's as if Liverpool are kind of like baiting him to go towards him. So he's like, okay, well, sure, I'm going to go with Saliba. So now look, Wirtz goes towards Saliba, and then Szoboszlai goes towards Zubimendi. They are alternating. Then the moment the ball goes back towards Raya, look, Szoboszlai is going towards Raya, and then Florian Wirtz is dropping towards Zubimendi. Again, just taking him out of the game. And as the ball now goes to Gabriel, now it's checkmate. Frimpong now gets the trigger and he's moving with purpose and intensity and drive towards him, which forces Gabriel to go. He's a good ball player. It's going towards Lewis Skelly. So now again, Szoboszlai still stays with Zubimendi and he's marking him out of the game in order for him to not be able to receive the ball. So now effectively, Gravenberch and Szoboszlai are marking Declan Rice and Zubimendi out, with Frimpong still with Gabriel. Here, Lewis Skelly is going to make the wrong ball, the wrong pass, the wrong decision, and then McAllister is able to collect the ball, and then they can turn this turnover into a counter. But again, just as Arsenal can be, prone to the opposition's press, Arsenal themselves are actually very good at turning those high turnovers into goal-scoring chances. This was against Aston Villa again, because as the opposition tries to play through Arsenal's press, Arsenal are ready for that. They know that the opposition is going to do that, so their players are ready to pounce when it matters. So here, for example, one misplaced pass, Jadon Sancho, no surprise there, the freedom fighter loses the ball to Odegaard, and then here Odegaard, this is just pure class, and then Zubimendi again, he's not just a 6, he also scores, moves into this space, and then Odegaard just classy, that's a beautiful through ball, and then that's a beautiful goal. So we definitely have to be careful with Arsenal when it comes to this. But of course, we cannot talk about Arsenal without talking about the big elephant in the room. In other words, their set-piece routines, those in-swinger corners are absolute cancer. And of course, we've been on the receiving end of those set pieces. But also, I just want to stress something out, which is that if you remember Michael Carrick's 3-2 win against Mikel Arteta's Arsenal, right before Ralf Rangnick joined the club as interim manager, they scored the goal using that same routine when David De Gea was kind of injured, but they were still able to score, to shoot into an empty goal, and the referee allowed that. So what this tells me is that Mikel Arteta's set-piece routines have been brewing for years now, for at least 4 or 5 years. This is something that he has been perfecting season after season. So we definitely cannot underestimate their ability to score from those set pieces, and we have to be absolutely ready. The defenders have to be ready, and especially Lamens. He has already shown tendencies to come out of his box and claim high crosses, punch them into safety much more than Onana or Altay Bayindir. So I just hope that he's going to be ready for this challenge, because Arsenal are definitely going to challenge him. Players like Gabriel especially are extremely good in those set-piece situations. And I honestly believe that what's going to end up deciding this game is probably set pieces. I think that both teams are going to be solid defensively. I think Michael Carrick has shown in the game against Manchester City that he's able to send the team out there that is tactically disciplined, that is compact defensively, with high levels of concentration. Many of our defenders, especially Lisandro Martinez, for example, were definitely up for the game. And Arsenal as well, they're a solid team. They are a very good defense. So don't be surprised if the game is won from set pieces, or maybe a penalty, or maybe a lapse in concentration. This is why it's extremely important. It's vital, in fact, for Manchester United to be aware of Arsenal's set pieces. But also, I'm saying this, having said that, Manchester United are also quite potent with set pieces. So again, we have to make use of those set pieces. It's not something that I really can analyze using footage, but we'll see how the game goes. Anyway, guys, I hope that you've enjoyed this, pre-match opposition tactical analysis video. If you did, please leave your thoughts in the comment section below. Obviously, you guys enjoyed the one that I've made before the game against Manchester City. I promised you that I'm going to make more. I promised it. Here I am delivering. Obviously, this season it's going to be easier for me to do that because we are not playing any other competitions. So the frequency of games is not as heavy as it could be next season with the FA Cup, Carabao Cup, and potentially European games as well. So I'm going to try to keep it up this season, making these kind of videos after every game. So yeah, if you enjoy these kind of videos, guys, please give it the thumbs up. Until next time, cheers.